Hello and welcome to another episode of Fresh Off the Set. I'm Sarah Jenkins.
And I'm Laura Murray.
And today we are talking about a really important topic, women's equality here in Utah.
Yeah, it is such, and we use that phrase a lot, an important topic, but this truly is something that I think, obviously affects every woman here in Utah. We are talking about it today, getting into the facts, talking about all of that.
And, recently, as in for the last 5 years, Utah's been ranked the worst state for women's equality. This is according to a study done by Wallet Hub, and every single year they rank these states. And it's a little disheartening to hear that for the past 5 years we've been ranking that bad.
Absolutely. So in 2021, there's a Utah State University professor. Her name is Susan Madsen, which Kari talked to. She released a white paper addressing women's equality in Utah, and she talks about some statistics that contribute to Utah's really low ranking that keeps happening year after year. So, for example, women earned 25.5% less than men when we're talking about salary.
That's right. It's so disheartening. And then 18.9% of men earning $100,000 or more. To that number, only 5.9% of women are earning $100,000 or more. It's just really disappointing.
And this is another stat that really, kind of hits home why this is such a problem, and then, why we should be aware of it is men owned about 60% of businesses, while women owned only 15% of businesses.
And I think it's important to really delve into the why of this, because women, we are big proponents of, we are fully capable, and I think that we can take on the world. So I love kind of delving into this and figuring out how we can shift this right here in Utah. And Kari, again, spoke to Susan Madsen, and she started the Utah Women Leadership Project, which really that's what it's all about. It helps combat this problem right here in Utah. So, Alora, I say let's take a listen.
Let's do it.
I am so excited to be talking with Dr. Susan Madsen today. She is the founder and director of the Utah Women Leadership Project and an inaugural Karen Huntsman Endowed Professor of Leadership at Utah State University. Welcome, Dr. Madsen. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for the invitation. I look forward to the chat.
Of course, we do too. Okay, tell us a little more about what you teach at Utah State University.
So at Utah State, I am a professor in the John M. Huntsman School of Business, and I teach leadership. So actually, this semester, I'm doing a shortened version of a women's leadership development course. So specifically for young women in the Huntsman School. And then I also teach just leadership, foundations of leadership and some different things for the students there as well. So, I used to teach business ethics and a few other things, but I'm really focusing on leadership, which I love.
A very busy woman. Thank you for all you are doing. This is awesome.
Thank you.
So you founded the Utah Women in Leadership Project. What inspired you to start this specific project?
So I was just saying today, as I was talking to someone, I have been leading a temporary project for 14 years now.
Wow.
So we, in 2009, I was asked by the commissioner of, even before that, a little bit before that, was asked by the commissioner of higher education and also the governor's education excellence committee to do some research on why more women were not going to college and graduating. And so I had done some writing and some books on women's leadership and how important college was for women to develop their voices and their confidence. And so I took on that year a big project and traveled around the state and really tried to understand women's experiences and their decisions to go to college and graduate or not graduate. And so that's really what got me going down this path of the Utah Women in Leadership Project, is starting to engage in research, but then also really I'm a change agent. And so I have a background, I've studied change. And so research can often be linked to the start of some really important change. And so that's what got me going. I thought it was a 1-year project. And then I said, well, it's big. So 2 years. And then people started asking me for data and this and that. And here we are in 2023.
2023.
We're still going. And there's still such a need for it, even more than ever before.
Absolutely. And you said change agent? Did I hear you say that correctly?
Yeah, agent. Yeah, change agent. I've studied change, but I'm a change person. I just move forward, like to see change, push people to change. And we have a lot of changes that we need in Utah for girls and women.
Sure. I like that change agent. That's really good. Change can be good
Yeah.
most times. How have you seen a lack in support for women and girls in business and leadership? Where have you seen a lack?
Well, actually, there's a lot of lack of support, honestly. And so I mean, in general, when you look at what's happening to girls and women in the state, we do research on so many topics. And what we know is we're above the national average on things like domestic violence and sexual assault and child sexual abuse and some of those things. But we're also, in terms of business and politics and other areas, when you look at the representation of women, that means, in mid career, but also in top leadership teams, the C-suite, on corporate boards across the United States, there's more men than women. But in Utah, we really have exaggerated. That means anything that you see trends across the United States, in Utah, it's worse. Like the wage gap, everybody has it in the United States, but in Utah, it's worse.
Mm-hmm.
The representation of women in business, leadership positions is significantly lower than even other states in the nation. And so those are kinds of things that we study, but that lack of support, we see, just even small things with the reported, what women report in Utah. Across the nation, there's less women who have sponsors or mentors. We see that even more in the state of Utah. So I do think that we're shifting, even just in the last year, maybe two, but more the last year. We're seeing more support coming from companies and organizations, particularly because of the talent shortage. So when you have a talent shortage and you're a business, you need to find ways to actually recruit and retain employees. And so that's a motivating factor for some businesses to really start thinking about family-friendly practices. And women, it shouldn't be this way, but women need that more than men, because women tend to have more of the unpaid care work and what we call the emotional load. And so, those, we're moving super slow, though. A lot of us are doing, lots of groups that I work with are doing lots of different things and training and research and so forth. So we're seeing the needle move slightly, but there's much more work to be done.
Slightly. Okay. And this is why you founded the Utah Women in Leadership Project, because we needed that. Now let's talk a little bit more about the success of that project. How have you seen it change people's lives?
I love that because, we do, we have a listserv, a newsletter that goes to about 30,000 people in the state a month. So we work with lots of people. We present, we speak to lots and lots of people. But my favorite thing is, when someone tells me, or I hear a story, or someone emails me that said, I read your report, or I heard you speak, or one of my staff speak, or something, and they talked about how important education is. And I mean, I've had emails where people have said, I'm a single mom with 2 kids, and then I started college. I remember one specific one said, I just wanted to tell you that I have finished college. It's taken me 3 years, and I'm starting a master's degree next fall.
Wow.
And I'm more confident now. I know I'm smart. I didn't know that. This particular woman went through a lot of domestic violence and abuse. So she was feeling like she was basically worthless, which is just heartbreaking, right?
Right.
And then all of it, when education especially is such a key, it's just such a key to the thriving in life. And so I do know that the work has made a big difference. And I love hearing those stories in people's lives.
Oh, absolutely. You're doing the good work, Dr. Madsen. That's amazing.
Thank you.
And what events do you host for this project?
So we have done some events through the years, and we love that. We've done more in recent years in terms, especially this past year, in terms of partnered events. And that's what we're going to be doing actually more and more moving forward. For instance, in November, we had a partnered event with the Policy Project, which does lots of great work. One of their projects was the Period Project, actually.
Yes, yeah, I'm familiar.
We did a partnered event called Biases, Barriers, and Barricades for Utah Women, a solutions-based workshop. So we had presentations, and that was fun because it was in person. But we've done many Zoom events. We have some on finance for women. We co-hosted another event in the fall with Sapria and also the Malou Foundation, specifically on affecting social change for child sexual abuse. But through the years, in the last few years, I've had authors, global and national authors of books come in and on Zoom. It's easier on Zoom, and do those kinds of events. And we've had workshops or panels on Utah women of color, and a workshop last year on building emotional resilience in girls and young women, really for parents and educators. And so we tend to do pretty meaty, not a lot of fluff, but we tend to do some really meaty topics that, and more as we look forward, that's what I'm leaning towards, because we need some serious change in the state of Utah in terms of supporting our girls and women so that we can really see them thrive in better ways. And so I'm being really even extra thoughtful moving forward about what kinds of events can help really move that needle in ways that people need to hear and listen. But I'm loving, the conversations with other groups so that because sometimes there's so many events out there to get to. So we don't want to duplicate and do things that other groups can do. We want to elevate what they're doing and partner as much as possible. So that's a little bit of a shift for us, but that's the direction we're headed.
Sure. Well, I mean, I think it's important too, once you're in person, to be together, to feed off each other's energy and support each other. There's something to be said about just being in the same room.
It is so, yes. So important, and it feels good. I mean, it's nice to be able to do Zoom, but then if you're listening into a Zoom, you multitask and do email and different things. And so your learning is really distracted. You can hear things, but you can't get into that zone of what I call transformational learning very well, like that can really change how you think and how you feel and what you want to do. So there's pros and cons. I think moving forward, we'll do a mix like most people.
Awesome. Well, and this may seem like an obvious question, but why do you believe education is so important for women to pursue?
Oh, that is a great question. When you look at the research, and we've written a lot through the years on this and have some great handouts on our website, the Utah Women in Leadership Project. But I started 14 years ago really doing research on education. And what we found is you look at hundreds, and now there's thousands of studies out there on the benefits of education. And some people today kind of say, well, it's not worth it for this or that. I'm still getting a good, my money's worth. But it's not all about, an important piece is finances and economics, right? And there's absolutely a link to your education level. The more education, the more money you make. And that's important, but it's not all about that. Actually, there's so many research studies to talk about even the parenting benefits. I mean, there's all kinds of parenting benefits. The more educated you are, for instance, the more likely you are to read to your kids, to prepare your kids for math at younger ages. So they're prepared when they get into the school system. That you tend to, if they have more educated mothers and fathers, you tend to make more nutritious meals and so forth. And then there's such a connection between more education, and people who are more educated in society tend to donate more blood, tend to vote more, tend to really engage in society more. And just your critical thinking and the way you analyze things, all of that is is amplified when you go to college. And in Utah, often women through the generations have been taught, well, if you're going to stay at home, you really don't need a college education. Well, actually, you do. Because it really benefits you in so many ways as you mother or participate in so many things, whether you're paid for that work. And as you know well, women often are not, there's a whole set of unpaid care work that we do for our children and elder care and all kinds of things that still, we're benefited by going to college and having those benefits. So, man, there's a lot of research, even health and well-being. Guess what? People that have a bachelor's degree and higher tend to live longer lives. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
The one that always makes me smile a little bit is there was a study out of, I think it was Stanford years ago, that said that men who have educated wives tend to live longer.
Wow.
So isn't that interesting?
We keep them on their toes, huh?
I guess so. But, we do know from so much research that people that tend to go to college and again, a lot of the benefits that are published hit at that bachelor's degree level end up being really better lifelong learners. That means you just learn from things throughout your life. So there's just endless benefits. And what I love as a college teacher is when I have women and men, I should say, in my classes who came back later and they have they're sharp people already, they've had all these great experiences, but they come back and they learn so much more than my younger students because they have life experiences and they can connect more. But I love older students too. So I'm just saying, if you didn't get your degree when you're younger, you can go back full time later, but you can start, even moms with young kids. You can take a class in the evening, you can take it online, you can, there's ways to continue our education. It all helps.
Sure. Very important to pursue education. You laid out so many reasons for us. Thank you so much. That was very interesting. And speaking of studies, you touched on that a little bit. Utah has been ranked as the worst state, unfortunately, for women's equality. What do you have to say about that?
Oh my gosh, I could say so much about this. And Zions Bank commissioned a report that was released in December of 2021, so just a little over a year ago, that had us really dig deep into the 17 metrics that Wallet Hub bases that on. And so I'll tell you that when we went back to the original sources and reran all the data and then did our own comparison with the other states, we ranked last. And so some of the metrics that we don't love, but many of them are just reality and we need to change things. And so, for instance, we have the widest by far gap in the nation between men and women getting graduate degrees. So that impacts lots of things in life. And so that we lose so many points on this Wallet Hub because of that. We also have this year, we actually, with the wage gap, last year I used to joke because we were not the bottom, but Wyoming was always worse than us through the years in the wage gap. And I used to joke about that. And then this year, we're at the bottom. So that means we have the widest pay gap between men and women. And a lot of people in Utah really just shove that aside. Oh, that's not really a myth or women's shoes. But when we parse it all out, there's some pure, you have to be careful with that, but there's some pure discrimination in there.
Sure.
So we have, there's things like even the math scores. So in 8th grade, Utah ranks 43rd in the nation between the scores that 8th grade boys get on math versus 8th grade girls get on math.
Wow.
And people may say, well, that's not a big deal. It's actually a huge deal.
Yeah.
There are states with no gap. There are some countries with no gap. That means it's socialized. And when you at 8th grade already have girls feeling they're not supposed to be good at math and don't try or don't give the opportunities, that impacts the rest of your life. That impacts how you feel about money, Do you have confidence in money? That impacts whether you go into STEM fields or not. And STEM fields are most of the most high paying fields. So there's many metrics. They really, that equality has a bunch of them that are workforce, and then some of them that are health and education. And then the last chunk are women in politics. And as you can probably guess, we rank, and more religious societies in general rank low in the percentage of women versus, the percentage of women who serve in especially state, local, but state legislatures and Congress and so forth. And as you know, there are 6 seats in Congress, and we have 0 of them that are women.
Mm-hmm.
And all of those things impact public policy, impact equality in many ways.
Absolutely. Well, this has definitely been eye-opening, and I just want to thank you for all you're doing to change equality here in Utah for women and founding the Utah Women and Leadership Project. You're doing amazing things. If we want to follow you for events and maybe, to help somehow, where do we follow you, Dr. Madsen?
That is a great question. So the Utah Women in Leadership Project, you can find our work at utwomen.org. So really easy, utwomen.org, and that'll take you to our homepage. And just take a little time to explore our research, just even looking through at the topics that we publish on, but our events are there, and also resources. We have new curriculum, low expense kind of curriculum. We just released a 4-hour course that's interactive online on imposter syndrome for women. And we have never found any like this in the whole United States. So, and then for women that want to return to the workforce but have been out for a while, we have training on that. So utwomen.org, and there's how to get involved. There's a page on that as well.
Perfect. utwomen.org. Thank you so much, Dr. Madsen. Okay, we like to do a fresh 5 when we wrap up these interviews. These are 5 quick questions. Top of your head, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. First one, do you like to read a book or watch a movie?
Read a book during the day, watch a movie at night.
There you go. There you go. Number 2, what's your favorite food?
Oh my gosh. Probably a Cafe Rio pork salad.
Yum. I'm with you on that. I love those too. Okay, number 3, are you a road trip person or do you like to be in an airplane?
I do a lot of international. So I like both, but I do a lot of international, so airplane.
Need a plane for that, sure. Okay, number 4, you're on your perfect vacation. What are you doing?
A mix of things. I like to chill some because I'm a busy person, but I also like to hike, and I like to see not necessarily cities as much as countrysides, especially in different countries.
That's good. Mix it up. Okay, last one. What are you most happy about right now?
I am happy that I got over the flu.
Good. That's a good thing to be happy about. We're happy for you too.
Everybody's getting sick, and I'm like finally feeling great. So I have a lot of energy, and I'm loving that.
That's so good. Well, we have a lot of energy talking with you. Dr. Susan Madsen, thank you so much for joining us today. We will be following you. Thank you for all the work you're doing.
Thanks so much.
Great to talk with you. And thank you for listening to this week's podcast. Please rate, review, and subscribe. And we will see you next week. Congrats, you made it to the end. If you want to continue to freshen up your day, you can watch us on Fresh Living every weekday on CBS Channel 2 in Utah at 1 o'clock. You can also watch us on our YouTube channel, KUTV Fresh Living, and follow us on social media. We will see you next week.